Just say yes to opportunities. Even if you're doubting if you want to go to, just say yes, because you might regret doing some stuff, but you're never going to regret the whole trip, the whole experience, the friends you're going to meet, the experience you're going to do.
Welcome to the show, Canadians Work and Travel Abroad, a podcast by Go International Work and Travel Providers about all things to do with working and traveling overseas. I'm Tamsin Plaxton, host of the show and founder of Go International. I'm also an avid international traveler. I'm really excited to be joined today by Elizabeth Perron. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's
okay. Elizabeth is from the province of Quebec in Canada, and she's recently returned from an 8-week experience in France where she went for an internship with Go International. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, tell me a little bit about yourself before we get into your experience. What's your background? Are you a student? Do you work in Canada?
Well, I do both actually. So I'm a student in Canada. In Montreal, I'm in university. I'm in Montreal's university. So I'm doing a bachelor's degree, which is 3 years, because I've learned not everybody knows what a bachelor is because it's different in every part of Canada. So it's 3 years, and I'm doing a bachelor in communications. So it's going to be my last year next year, and then after that, I'm on the job market. Yeah. I wasn't born in Montreal, though. I was born in Gatineau, which is just near Ottawa. So I was born just beside the capital province city. Yeah. And I moved to Montreal to university because I just stayed in Gatineau all my life before that. I never really moved anywhere. So I wanted to have a change of scenery for university, which I did. But I started school in September of 2020. So during the pandemic, so I did all my school online, which really sucked because I didn't really run on campus and everything. I didn't have any friends because everything was online. So that was kind of a bummer. And we started going back on campus on my second year of university. So that was kind of great. I'm currently working at Loto-Québec. I'm not sure, do you know what it is?
No, I don't.
No, Loto-Québec is a state corporation that manages gaming industry and lottery in Quebec. So if you want to go to the casino, buy a lottery in the province of Quebec, it's managed by Loto-Québec, which is a state corporation, because every province manages their gambling and lottery differently. And in Quebec, it's called Loto-Québec. Yeah, so I work for their customer service online. So if you call Loto-Québec, I'm going to be answering the phone.
Oh, that's a good experience. That's a very good experience. Yeah. Customer service is always important. Yeah. In any career.
Yeah. And I'm studying communication too. So it's a little bit like hand to hand with my degree. And through my degree in communication, we have the opportunity, if we want to, it's not mandatory, but if we want, we could do an internship that earns us credit for school. So you do an internship and depending on the internship that you choose, you can earn credit for school. So either 3, 6, or 9 credits, which is either 1, 2, or 3 classes that you don't have to do because you do the internship. So because I never really traveled before, I wanted to have a new experience. I wanted to have some work experience before I finish school because I don't really have no idea what I want to do after school yet. So I figured to do an internship would give me a good idea of what I like, what I don't like, what the industry I want to go to. So that sort of thing. So that's when I decided to do the internship at school. And this is where I am right now.
Okay. So the internship you did in Quebec in Paris, the internship you did there actually gave you credits for your university.
Exactly. Because you have to have the school agreements to do it. So if they agree, you do the internship and then you have to fill out a lot of paperwork to do so. And then if you pass your internship, you have a grade. So if I don't have my grades now, but if I do pass my internship, it's one less class to take in autumn.
Right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we kind of understand then why you chose to do an internship. It was about getting these credits and getting an experience overseas. When did you make that decision that you wanted to go abroad? Was it like a year ago? Was it early in your education, or was it very last minute? What did it look like?
It was a long time ago because, like I said, I never really traveled before. I went to the States a couple of times because I'm from Canada, so it's easy to go there. But the only other time I traveled was for a high school travel type of thing. We went to Europe for 10 days. But you know what school trips is? You do the much stuff as possible in the littlest time as possible. So I don't really remember a lot of what I did, and I was 17 back then. So I'm a little bit older now. So I really never really traveled after that. And then in Quebec, we have, it's really weird because I think we're the only one province of Canada to have that. We have what's called Cégep. Do you know what it is?
Yes, yeah. It's an in between high school and university.
Yeah, exactly. Experience. So it's like 2-3 years. And I finished my Cégep in December of 2019. And I didn't want to start university like right away. I wanted to work and travel a little bit since I haven't done that before. So I decided that I wanted to go to England to learn English a little bit. And I was supposed to go for 2 months, and I was supposed to leave on April 2020. And we all know what happened. So I couldn't go and was really bummed out about it. And then I started university in September, did my whole year online, and then COVID started to get a little bit better. So I decided I wanted to, retake that trip that I didn't have the chance to do in 2020. But I didn't know yet what I wanted to do. And that's when I started university. I was like, okay, well, I can do an internship and travel at the same time. So, like best of both worlds. You travel, learn about culture and everything, and still earn credit for school. So for me, it was like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So I made the decision to do an internship about September 2021, like in autumn. But I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to do an internship abroad. So the idea started to go in autumn 2021. And I knew I wanted to leave in the summer of 2022. So I made everything before, like took all of this decision because it's a tough decision because you need to have a lot of documents and everything. You need the money to go. So I made the decision in around autumn 2021, and I knew I wanted to leave in the summer of 2022.
Right. And how did you find Go International? Was that through an internet search or through word of mouth? How did you find us?
How did I find it? Actually, through research online. I had no idea when I wanted to go, where I wanted to go and exactly how, because you have to think about everything, because you have to think about the housing, how it's going to cost and everything. And so I just type online search and I looked about a lot of companies and everything. And I found Go International. And the thing is, since I'd never really traveled before and I didn't know the neighborhoods, the countries, like the people, I didn't know what was safe and what wasn't. So it was really more of a safety reason for me because I didn't want to like rent an apartment in a neighborhood. I didn't know if it was safe because I've never been there. So for me, Go International was really, they found housing for you and everything. So that was a big factor for me that made my decision to go with Go Internationals.
Yeah. And tell me about the experience you actually had. So you went with us on our program in France and you did an internship in France. And I think you were in Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you find, what kind of placement did you get and how was that experience for you being in Paris?
Well, I've never been in Paris before, but I've heard a lot of things and I'm a big fan of Emily in Paris. So I had that image in mind just before I went. So it was really fun. So I stayed with a house family. It was actually just a lady in her apartment it wasn't in Paris in the center, just a little bit outside of Paris, but it was really, really nice. It was a tiny apartment, but it did the job. And I chose to make my meals myself. So I had a little place in the fridge. I had a cabinet to put all my food. There was a grocery store near. So I did my groceries, brought them back. I had the opportunity to cook my food and everything. So it was really nice. Yeah.
That's great. And what about the placement in the company? What company did you work for and what kind of work did you do on that experience?
So basically, I did my internship with Action Against Hunger, which is a Paris-based company. It was originated from Paris. And basically, they help with conflict, climate change, poverty, inequality, in access to water and healthcare, and usually more poor countries. So, but they're in more than like 50 countries or something like that, which is like, it's crazy. and they have fundraiser, they have money, and they have different programs, because it's not just food that they help with, but they help with water, women's condition, healthcare, mental health, which is a big deal in those countries because they don't have the same access that we do in Canada in more rich countries. So they really do help a lot with that. And since I'm in communication bachelor's, I was in the communication department. So the whole department was called communication and development, I think, or something like that. Yeah. So I worked there, was an internship through there. And so I basically did posters for, they had a couple of events while I was there. So I helped with posters and everything. I helped a lot with the translation from English to French because they didn't really know what to translate from French and English. So I helped with that. Since I'm from Canada, I speak both French and English. So I did a lot of help with the translation stuff. What else? I did videos too. I searched and everything, and I made videos for the new intern people. So they didn't want to have like a simple paper that they gave them. They wanted to have a video, something more fun. So I made videos for the new intern people and everything. So I did quite a lot for like 8 weeks that I was there.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So 8 weeks and you did all of that. That's an incredible experience.
Yeah, but also the internship was only 3 days a week. So Tuesday to Thursday. So I did 3 days a week for 8 weeks.
Right. So that gave you very long weekends.
Yeah.
You had Friday, day off. Did you take advantage of that? Did you travel?
Yeah, exactly. I really took advantage of that. I traveled everywhere around Europe because since I'm from Canada, I can't really do that, like just pop up a weekend around Europe because, time zone and everything, it's just a little bit more complicated. So I went and I did, I think, around 5 or 6 cities. Yeah, so I went...
In 8
Yeah, in 8 weeks. So I did Berlin in Germany. I went to Strasbourg in France. I did London, England for the Queen's Jubilee. What else? I did Madrid in Spain, and I did Edinburgh in Scotland.
That is such a good mix,
yeah.
Right? You really saw a lot of different cultures and had a different experience. And were you able to just arrange all that while you were there in Paris, or did you arrange that before you left Canada?
I actually did that all in Paris. I knew I wanted to travel on the weekends because I had my schedule beforehand. So I knew I was only going to be at the office 3 days a week. So I knew I was going to have long weekends, and I knew I wanted to travel where I didn't know it at the time. So I know I wanted to do Berlin because at university, I actually took a year of German lessons. So I knew I wanted to go to Germany to practice my German a little bit. And when I was there, I met so many people, and they told me, I went there and it was so much fun. So I was like, okay, well, I know I want to go there and there because they told me it was really fun. And also personally, I had a couple of places I really wanted to go to. Like I really wanted to go to London because I was supposed to go back in 2020. So I really went there. But Madrid, I don't think I would have done it in that trip unless somebody would have told me like, go to Madrid. It's really nice. And it really was.
That's fantastic. So how did you meet the people when you were traveling? Was that through the hostel? Did you stay in hostels, and was that how you met people, or how just on the streets? Or
no, I actually stayed in the hostel because I was traveling to Paris alone. So my weekend trips, I was also going alone. So I knew I didn't want to stay alone like the whole trip because that's kind of lonely. So I stayed in hostels, and I tried to take a dorm that has multiple beds. So you can, if you set a hostel, you can choose like a separate bedroom. So you're alone in there, but it costs more money and you're alone, which is kind of the point I didn't want to do. So I actually stayed in dorm with multiple people. And that's actually where I met most of my friends that I'm still in contact with today, which is really fun. So I met people through my dorm and was like, hey, it's 6 o'clock. Do you want to go to dinner together? Yeah, sure. So we went to dinner. You spend the evening with those people. And if they stay the other day, well, you spend the day with them. And that's really where I met a lot of my friends. And usually we would go to bars or something like that. We would meet other people. So it was really nice.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was easy for you to meet people, make friends when you were abroad.
Yeah, well, I actually had to put myself out there because usually I'm a more quiet, shy person, but I was alone. So I was like, nobody else is going to do it for me. So I have to do it myself. So, talk to people. And it can be as simple as hi, I'm Elizabeth, I'm from Canada. Where are you from? And you just start a conversation like that. And usually people that are in hostels, they're there for travel, to have fun, to meet people. So like everybody's just generally nice and wants to get to know you and do activities with you. So don't be afraid to go out there and meet people, because it's really the best way to make friends. And everybody's from different country. So you meet people all over the world, and you just talk about your countries, your experience, where you're going next, because a lot of people, they're backpacking through Europe. So they're telling you where they're going next, what they've done before. So it's really, really nice.
Yeah, great for information sharing, right? Because you learn from their travel experiences.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what are the tips and tricks of traveling, which is also what you're sharing with us right now about going abroad. Tell me about the actual company where you work. Did you make friends there? Were you able to connect with people on the job?
On the office, yeah. It was actually really funny because one of the guys that worked there, some of his families was from Canada. So it was really funny, and we bonded on that. And a lot of other people on the office, a couple of them was my age, so, beginning of their 20s, but a lot of them were maybe 30s, 40s. But, well, in France, generally, they're really nice. Like, they really welcome me with open arms. And it's really funny because in Canada, well, I was used to have like maybe 30 minutes for lunch or something. They have like an hour. And I wasn't used to that. Like, we had an hour lunch, so we went to have lunch outside. We would play ping pong on the tables. There was like tables of ping pong outside. So it was really, really nice. And we really bonded on that. So even though they weren't really my age, they were just really nice and welcoming and making sure I was included in everything. So it was really nice.
That's great. What kind of money did you have to have saved to do this experience? Like if someone's thinking about doing what you did and you went for 8 weeks, how much money did you have to have saved, and did you make any money there?
I didn't make money there because the internship was unpaid. And actually nowadays, a lot of internships are still unpaid. So if you want to go abroad, just make sure you have a lot of money saved beforehand, because it's kind of expensive. And especially if you want to do some travel around. So yeah, like you have to pay for hostels, hotels, whatever you want to stay in. You have to pay for flights depending where you want to go, bus, trains, whatever. And it adds up a lot, like really fast. So beforehand, I traveled at Loto-Québec. So I had a couple of grand saved. And even when I was in Paris and traveling abroad, I was staying in hostels because, yes, I wanted to make friends and be social, but also because it's a lot cheaper than staying in like hotels or something. And if I could, I would take the train because it's really cheaper than taking flights. And if I was taking flights, because to go from Paris to Scotland, unfortunately, there's no bus. You have to take the train, not the train, the plane. So, I would try to find the cheapest flight possible to go there and travel to like these weird hours to try to make it the cheapest as possible. And then when I was there trying to, if you can go grocery store when you're abroad, and if you can try to eat the cheapest thing at the restaurant, because it really adds up quite fast. And especially if you're unpaid to do your internship, you don't have any money coming in. It's just coming out. So before I left, I think I had around $6,000 saved. For this trip, around 6,000. And I did some traveling abroad. So maybe at the end it cost me around 7,000, but I had saved 6,000 to do this trip.
Right. Good for you. And must have been hard to save that much money while you're at university.
Yeah, I really tried. Yeah, well, when I was in university, I worked, my last semester, so winter 2022, I was going to school full time and I was working 32 hours a week.
Oh, yeah. Good for you. Wow.
Yeah, just to make sure I had enough money to do this trip, because I didn't want to say no to opportunities and to travel because I didn't have any money. So I was like, might as well work hard now and, have fun later on my travels. So it worked out for me.
Yeah. So, do you say it's worth it? Are you glad you did it?
I'm really glad I did it, because I didn't want to go to Europe, like the trip I wanted to take for so long, and be like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I don't have any money. I'm sorry, I can't do this trip. I don't have any money. Like, I didn't really want to say no to opportunities because I didn't know when the next time I'm going to be to this place, to this country, whatever. So I wanted to save as much as money as I could and then travel cheap to make the best out of it and have the most incredible experience, which I did. So for me, it was really worth it to sacrifice maybe time with friends and family to work in order to have fun on my travels.
Yeah. What would you say you've kind of mentioned some of the high points of the experience. Were there any other high points that you can think of?
Well, actually, yes. When I went to London, actually, it was really funny because I booked a tour for drinking tea in a bus. So I was like, might as well do the English thing. But actually, like I said before, I went for the Queen's Jubilee. So there were millions and millions of people in London. Like, it was so crowded. It was crazy. And actually, I think I got on the wrong bus because there was no tea or anything. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sit. Maybe it's going to be served later. I don't know. So I went on the bus and there was a guy animated or something. He was saying, if you look on your right, you're going to see this. If you look on your left, you're going to see that. And I just sat there and the guy was really funny, was making all of those jokes and everything. So I was like, might as well sit for the rest of it. It's pretty funny. And we were near Buckingham Palace, but we weren't going to go to Buckingham Palace because it was so crowded. Like, if you went to Buckingham Palace, you were there for like 5 hours. There were so many people. Yeah. So we were actually at a light about to turn left or right. I don't remember. And there were police officers and they just stopped everything. And I was on the lowest of the bus, because, English bus, they have like two floors. And I was on the first one because there weren't any room on the second one. And the guy, he just started screaming, "Oh my God, people, it's the Queen, it's the Queen." And I just started to get up and there was the Queen of England in her car going to Buckingham Palace for the Jubilee because she wasn't there all weekend because, she's kind of old, a little bit sick. And she only went to Buckingham Palace once. And we saw it on her way through Buckingham Palace. So I can say to people, I've met the Queen like from a far distance, but I saw her.
You saw the Queen. You saw the Queen of England.
Yeah.
I always remember that.
I always remember that. Yeah. And the guy, he was from London. He was like, I've met Princess Anne like 500 times. I've met Charles once, but I've never met the Queen. So now we can all say that we've met the Queen together. And like every time people ask me that, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Any low points? Were you ever homesick, or was there any challenges that you had to overcome in the experience?
Lots of challenge. I knew it was going to be a challenge because first, I'm alone. So if there's a problem, I can rely on other people. I have to fix them myself and solve them myself. And the homesick part, I was a little bit homesick maybe the first week or two because I was alone. I didn't know anybody. I was in Paris, a city I've never been before. And even though people were speaking my language, which is I'm native French, so I speak French. It's my first language. It's not the same French as in Quebec. So sometimes I would speak French and they would be like, what is she saying? Like, it's the same language. Like, sometimes they would not get me and it was really frustrating. So I had to think, okay, what's the French version of what I'm saying? Because even though it's the same language, it's not the same expression. It's not the same word and everything. So I was a little bit tricky in that way. And I got a little bit homesick, like I said, from the first week or two. Then I got it over with, but, it was a little bit lonely. My parents were across the ocean. I couldn't, if I wanted to speak with them, I had to think, okay, I'm in Paris, they're in Montreal. Okay, so it's back 6 hours. Are they up or something like that? Because, there's a time zone difference.
Right.
Yeah, and then...
that's perfectly natural, right? The homesickness, it usually hits people the end of the first week or beginning of the second week. But I think the big important thing, it sounds like, is you got over it. And you had a great experience. Yeah,
because I did my first weekend in Paris. I actually stayed in Paris. And my first trip I took, like I said, it was in Berlin. I went there my second weekend in Europe, and that's where I met some friends. So that's where I met friends and talked with them, and I'm still in contact with some of them. So it was really there because, I can make friends. I'm good. My parents are, yes, they're far away, but, I'm good where I am. I'm having fun. Yeah. So, I really got over with like the second weekend I was there.
Yeah. So I have some ideas about what you might have learned from that experience, but what do you think you've learned from this experience and how have you benefited?
Actually, I really learned to trust myself because, like I said, I was alone, and every time something would happen, I would have to solve it myself. Like I had a lot of trouble with public transportation because a lot of countries, it's different in every city. Like in every country, it's not the same. In every place is different, and every place it's a different language. So, it's a lot of problem solving, and you have to think on your feet and really trust yourself to say like, okay, if it's that train, like, because I'm really bad at direction, like I suck at it. So every time I would get on a train or a bus, I'm like, okay, am I going the right direction, the right city, the right country? Because I would be the type of person to like go on the wrong country if I wanted to go in the other direction. Like I'm that type of person. So I really had to learn to trust myself and to say yes to meeting new people, have new experiences. So in that sense, it gave me a lot more confidence to keep going and to do it again. Like I would do this trip, the exact same trip, 1,000%.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And what about professionally? Did you learn things on the job? And how do you think it's going to benefit your career? Yeah, well, actually, like I said, I'm doing a bachelor in communication, but I didn't really have any class on video making and stuff like that. So I really had to learn on the job to do it. So in that sense, it's going to benefit me professionally. And I still use a lot of the stuff I had learned in class in my jobs, but it's really different to learn something and then to do it, because, in class you learn a bunch of things, but it's really rare that you can actually do it. Like I learned InDesign and Photoshop, that kind of thing. I did a little bit in my class, but in my job in Paris, I really got the chance to do it, to actually make some poster and using Photoshop and InDesign and that kind of stuff that I learned in class, and then to do it on my job. So that was really a cool experience. Yeah, that's amazing. And that is the point of internships, right? Is that it gives you that opportunity to really learn through practical experience what you're learning in theory in the classroom. Yeah, and you can also know what you like and what you don't like. Like, I really loved making videos and stuff like that using Photoshop InDesign, which I never knew before because I have never really done it. And I also learned that I don't really like writing long text. So, I'm going to look for a job that I don't have to write, a ton of stuff. So, you learn what you like, but you also learn what you don't want to do. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. And you didn't invest years into a company to get that learning. You figured it out in 8 weeks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe it'll change in the future, but in my internship, through what I was doing, I didn't really like it. Maybe in the future it's going to change, but for now, I know it's not really what I want to do in my future job. Yeah, that's great. So what advice would you give people who are thinking about doing an internship abroad or working abroad? Just say yes to opportunities. Even if you're doubting if you want to go to, just say yes, because you might regret doing some stuff, but you're never going to regret the whole trip, the whole experience, the friends you're going to meet, the experience you're going to do. Because like I said, I was homesick for a little bit. But I really learned to trust myself and to open myself to new experience, which I never would have done back at home, staying in your comfort zone. So when you're out in another country, you really have to learn to open yourself to new experience, to get out of your comfort zone, because that's where you're going to grow the most. Fantastic. I'm going to jump back to a question I should have asked earlier, so it might be put into the podcast earlier. And the question is around the process. So what was the process for you in applying for this program with Go International? Can you share a little bit about that experience for you? How did it look? What was the process in terms of steps? And then how was your experience of that? Actually, it wasn't that difficult though, because I knew I wanted to do an internship and I knew I wanted to go with Go International because I had made some research and Go International was the best fit for me, for my needs and everything. And I had a lot of questions beforehand because, like I said, I never really traveled before. So I emailed somebody in the company and she answered me back the next day. I actually emailed her like maybe 20, 25 times. I think I was starting to think I'm maybe bothering her or something because I had so many questions about everything. But she was really nice. And actually I called her a couple of times too because it was more easy to talk voice to voice than through email or something. Yeah. So she was really nice. She answered all of my questions through autumn. Because like I said, I knew I wanted to leave I started to thinking about leaving in autumn.
and she answered all of my questions through like September to December. And then in January, I started the application, and it wasn't really difficult. You know, you just read the question, you answer honestly and everything. And I had all of the documents prepared. So, and because I asked all of those questions earlier, I knew what I wanted in my internship. So it was a little bit more easy for me to answer all of the questions because I had an answer beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And did you interview with the company in Paris before being placed with them?
Yeah, I had a little interview. So with Go International, they sent me an interview with a date in an hour. Yeah. And because it was in Paris and I was in Montreal, I didn't go to Paris and then came back. I just did the interview through Teams or Zoom. I don't remember it. But I spoke with my supervisor that I had in Paris. I told her, you know, I was in university looking for an internship. I'm studying communications. Here are my skills. Here are my strengths. Here's are my weaknesses. And basically at the end, she was like, you know, I think you could be a great fit for a department. You know, if you want to, you could start beginning of May. I was like, okay, great.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I mean, that's the process for everyone. It's very easy. It's very streamlined. And it's great that you get a chance to talk to your employer before you go. So we work with partners on the ground in France to select companies based on the participant's profile. And then we recommend a, particular placement to the candidates.
Yeah.
But of course you have a chance to talk to them before you choose to accept the offer. So I'm glad that went well for you.
Yeah, and exactly when I registered for the internship, you know, I was confused because they asked for my, CV and everything like that. I was like, okay, well, I don't mind giving it to you. But I was like, okay, it's because on my CV, you have my strength, where I'm studying and everything. So I was like, okay, there's a point to every document that they're asking me, because when I had my internship, I didn't have to send anything because you guys already had everything you needed for the internship. So when I did for the interview, she already had all of my documents. So she already knew who I was, where I was going to school, what were my strengths and everything. So it was more of a conversation than an interview, basically.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today and being on the show and sharing your experience. I think it sounds like you had a once in a lifetime opportunity to get, international work experience, to travel and see Europe, make new friends. And do you plan to travel again? Has this inspired you to do more?
Actually, yes. I'm going back to Europe on January 2023. I'm doing a semester abroad in Belgium.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Was that inspired by this experience you had?
Honestly, yes. Yeah, I loved Europe. I loved the people I met and everything. So it was like, as soon as I got to Paris, I was like, I want to come back one day. So I knew I wanted to do a semester abroad. I just didn't know where. Now I know I want to do it in Europe.
Oh, fantastic. Well, congratulations on that. And good luck with your final year and your semester abroad. And again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. You too.
Well, that's all for this episode of Canadians Work and Travel Abroad. I'm Tamsin Plaxton, and thanks for joining us. We would love to hear from you. So if you have feedback or ideas of other topics you would like us to cover in new episodes, please contact us. Our email address is programs, programs, programs @gointernational.ca. And if you want to learn more about the programs we currently offer, please visit our website, www.gointernational.ca. And in order to help us find more Canadians and share this information, please like and review this podcast. We want to get the word out. Thanks so much.